It's the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
Nikolai.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Nick. Hello, people and animals.
I wish we had like a word for our listeners, like the Horror Show Society or some crap. But we didn't plan that one out.
I'm glad we didn't, because I think it's kind of lame.
I'm using Horror Show Society from now on.
Okay.
Welcome to the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
Hi, society.
Today we're talking about...
Oh yeah, this is a different type of episode from the norm. Well, actually, I would say that pretty much all of our episodes are a little bit different, each one. Wouldn't you?
Right.
This one is going to be a franchise episode. We're doing the Sleepaway Camp franchise. We are doing movie by movie, except we're stopping at 3.
Yeah, we're pretending it's a trilogy, because after 3 it gets so convoluted, because like there's kind of a part 4, then there's half of a part 4 that was actually part 4, and then there's like a remake.
Yeah,
but
we'll touch on those a little bit, but we're not gonna like put our hands in them.
Right.
It's like we'll just flick them.
I mean, like we could have watched the remake, but we just we gave up.
The remake.
Was it a remake or was it a reboot?
No, it was a straight. Okay. We'll talk about it later.
We're doing it. Okay.
We'll talk about it later. This is only the intro. So yes, we're going to do them in order. So up first is Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp, 1983. Director is Robert Hiltzik, I think. I can't. No, I can't really pronounce his name that well.
Commander Hiltzik.
Starring Felissa Rose, Jonathan Tiersten, Karen Fields, Christopher Collette, Mike Cowan, and Catherine Kami. This film, I believe, was actually made before 1983. It wasn't released until 83. Here's a IMDb synopsis, and we'll bridge it from there. Angela Baker, a traumatized and very shy young girl, is sent to summer camp with her cousin. Shortly after her arrival, anyone with sinister or less than horrible intentions gets their comeuppance. All right, that's a pretty good synopsis.
Before we even start, though,
yeah.
We should mention we're going to spoil these movies. We're not spoiling them because, like, these movies, they're like, the first one is what, 30 years old? 34 years old.
Uh-huh.
We're well past the expiration date on that. And also the twist ending is probably more well known than the movie itself.
I would say it's more well known now than it ever has been.
Right. Horror fans everywhere know about it and talk about it. And some of them think it's the greatest twist ending, and some of them think it's the stupidest twist ending. Some think it's clever. Some think it's really idiotic. So we'll see and we'll discuss. But we're not there yet. Let's start with what this movie is.
So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to give you a basic plot synopsis if you're not familiar with the series. And then I'm going to ask Nick his first experience with it, and then I'm going to talk about my experience. We'll talk about the movie, and then we'll go into 2 after that. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go movie by movie. So there will be a break in between each one. So if you haven't seen Sleepaway Camp 1, well, just watch them and then come back. Okay. So, Sleepaway Camp opens with 2 kids hanging out with their dad and his quote-unquote friend. That's where we'll leave it. They're hanging out, boating, and just having a good time, and the kids are playing pranks on the father. Father falls overboard, and a boat with the most... Hang on, Nick, jump in on this with me too, please.
Okay.
The most overdramatic actress water skier in the world.
I know, dude. Things were so crazy in this boat scene. Like, okay, there's There's a father and kids playing.
Right.
Everybody is acting normal. Everything's being normal. This boat comes speeding along, and there's like this boyfriend and girlfriend who are in the boat who are like teenagers, and they're like messing around and driving too fast, and they've got a water skier on the back, and the water skier is this other teenage girl who is terrified. Like, she is screaming like she's on top of I almost said something terrible there, and I'm gonna say it. Here it comes. It's like she's screaming like she's on top of the World Trade Center on 9/11, like that type of level of screaming.
That is definitely gonna get some kind of back feedback.
I know we're getting a dislike on this video. but she is a ballistic, insane, crazy, and like just like seriously, she's like, please stop the boat, like yelling. It's hilarious. And I actually like rewatching this. I was like, wait a minute, these people are going crazy. Do they show up again later in the movie or something?
No, they don't.
And they don't.
No.
And I thought that they would, just because.
No.
I couldn't really remember the first movie that well. I haven't seen it for like 10 years. And I'm like, are these people like later on, do they get like picked off or something? No, they're just in this first scene.
Yeah.
So the boat's going crazy.
So what happens is the guy speeds up the boat. The boat hits the father, kills the father instantly, and one of the kids as well. Mm-hmm. They don't really show you
whether it was the boy or the girl.
No, they just show you one body floating, and that's it. Then you cut to crazy Aunt fucking...
Oh my god, dude. So, there's this aunt.
What is her name again? Aunt Martha,
Oh,
that's right, Aunt Martha. Yeah. Desiree Gold, who is like still alive and still the same type of person.
Now, she's acting like she's a stage actress.
She is all over the...
Community theater, I have to be really big and talk quite loud and make generous hand motions so that the people in the back row can see it.
She looks like Raggedy Ann and Andy's mom.
Right. Oh, man. And, like, I honestly, like, all right, she's getting these two kids ready, a brother and sister, or no, a sister.
Yeah. Well, brother
they're
and
cousins.
Yeah, brother and half sister. She is. Well, there's Angela.
Right.
There's Angela and Ricky.
Right.
And she's getting them ready for summer camp,
mm-hmm.
and she's gonna send them away to summer camp.
So they're both, yeah, except like she's like crazy while she's doing it, like just talking like really. Flourishing on every sentence. What a wonderful time to be sending the children, like
yes,
crazy.
She's
and I love
control.
it. I would watch a whole Aunt Martha movie.
You would?
I would, dude. It would be insane. Can you imagine the horror movie she could have if she had a dark side?
I could definitely imagine.
Oh wait, she does have a dark side. We learn about it in this movie. So
instead of going over the entire movie, which you probably had already seen, basically what happens is the two kids go to camp, just like the plot synopsis says. You'll see some pedophiles. Well, I would say one pedophile, but other ones are like, yeah. We'll get to that.
This movie's so weird. Now, it really is just what follows after those first two opening weird scenes mm-hmm. is the quintessential Sleepaway Camp slasher, like that all the other camp movies are somewhat based off of, other than being based off of Friday the 13th himself, mm-hmm. Where campers are one by one sort of picked off, campers, counselors, whoever.
Right, but it's done in a weird way too, where well, during the course of the movie you see like an arm, and it's like a tan arm, and you're like, well, that's gotta be Ricky.
It's muscly.
And then later on, in one particular scene, which we'll get to, I'm sure, is you see the kid standing in the doorway, and you can see that it's Ricky's face. It's actually Ricky standing there, and
committing the murder. You mean
committing the murder? Well, not committing the murder, but just standing
doing
there
the bad stuff
before the Judy scene with the the curling iron.
Mm-hmm.
So
basically the whole movie is leading you to believe that Ricky is the killer, is what we're saying.
Right, because Ricky's like really angry, and then Putty Face, as I like to call him. You know who Putty Face is, right?
The head counselor dude.
Yeah, the counselor dude, who was also in what is it? Just Before Dawn. I think he's great, and he is disgusting too because you think about it. You have fat cook guy, who is a pedophile, who likes to touch
There's
kids,
a cook, right?
touch kids inappropriately. Then you have Putty Face, who is banging one of the counselors, who is obviously pretty young. So Meg, the Meg character, is banging him. I can't. Oh yeah, he's Mel, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he actually. I was reading this on Wikipedia the other day. Did he like die before the movie came out or something like that?
Yeah.
Like he didn't even make it to the release
Yep.
in real life of the movie. Was he killed mysteriously by a pair of tan arms that was holding a knife?
No, unless tan arms were the form of lung cancer. That's what he passed away from. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Lung cancer's not funny.
No,
Can't
it's
joke.
not. It really isn't. I don't know why I'm chuckling, but I think he is really good at his role. He's totally into. Everybody in this movie, by the way, is playing it overboard, except except for Felissa Rose, who doesn't even speak. Really, she has like one or two lines.
Plays Angela.
Yeah, plays Angela. Yes. Now the other thing. This is. So you have pedophile guy, pedophile cook, rubber face, and then now, let me ask you, Nick, which cut did you watch? Where did you see Sleepaway Camp?
When I first saw it, it was on Monsters HD. Well, actually, I think I might have seen this movie in college on tape, but I can't remember. I definitely saw it on Monsters HD, which was a channel that we had here in the Northeast. Back in like about 10 or 15 years ago. I've talked about it here before. If you had like Optimum or Cablevision or whatever, you had this channel that was to show off, like there was a set of channels that was to show off your HD TVs, and one was like a kung fu channel, one was just like blockbuster movies all shown in HD, so that you could just show how cool your HD TV is. And one of them was Monsters HD, and they would play all classic horror movies all the time. And it was the most wonderful thing in the world. And that was where I first saw it. And that same cut can be viewed in entirety on YouTube. There's a cut of it that somebody ripped from a Monsters HD showing on YouTube.
Now, is that is that the uncut version? Because there are a couple of slight differences. The uncut version is on the Scream Factory Blu-ray. The previous Sleepaway Camp box set that has 1, 2, and 3, which is the survival kit, and the fourth movie question mark. We'll get to that. The two differences are during the skinny dipping scene. Guys don't get excited. It's all guys who goes skinny dipping. It shows all the male nudity.
Oh, I don't recall there being male nudity in the cut.
Right.
But I could have missed it for all I know.
Here's the messed up thing. Rumor has it that they weren't of age. So you see a bunch of guys. But it's like asses. Like, but either way, like, it's something that you don't want to see. But regardless, the other thing that's different is towards the end of the movie when the kids are killed. Like, little kids are killed by the killer. We won't spoil it yet, even though you already know. The way it's handled in the original cut, it's just a cutaway, real fast. The unrated cut actually shows you the bloody camping bags and all the manglings, let's just say, which is really, really dark for this type of movie. And I mean, speaking of dark, that dude's mustache, the cop that has the marker mustache at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, but those are the two differences of the different cuts.
Well, I actually think that like one of the things that's notable about Sleepaway Camp, in the few actual positives that you could say about this, and I say actual positives because most of what I like about these movies are that they're goofy and that they're campy and they've got such weird stuff going on and gory kills, which don't necessarily add up to a quality movie in general. Which is why these movies are cult movies to begin with. But one of the things that I think is actually notable about them is that, like, in the first one here, a lot of the victims and even the perpetrators are just like kids, like children, you know? And it's something that you wouldn't have realized necessarily if you saw this the first time as a teenager. You'd be like, oh, they're my age. But no, they're much younger and younger looking than, kids in horror movies tend to be.
Yeah, they are. Everybody, pretty much every actor and actress, except for a few, are like 15, 14-year-old kids. So when you see people, the kids getting killed, it's actual teenagers. And that's the one thing, that's one of the positives. By the way, I fucking love this series, and I know people dog it, and people say it's overrated, and that's like the buzzword of the year 2000 on. Calling a Sleepaway Camp series overrated is... Come on. That's like calling a Volkswagen Beetle, like, car of the year. It's just... Nobody can overrate this. You can say you love the movie because you love it for the shit fest that it is. That's all of them, pretty much. I mean, if you love all of these movies, you love them for what they are. I mean, there's no such word as overrated when it comes to Sleepaway Camps.
Right. I mean, that's one of the hardest parts to look at with these is like, no one is saying that these are actually good movies. No. Like, this is not Jaws or something, where we could have a debate over where it falls in the top 100 movies of all time or something. This is not not that type of movie. It's just goofy, corny, and the movies get cornier as we go. Of course. It's just got notable things about it, I guess you'd say. And like, another thing I really like about Sleepaway Camp 1, and pretty much two I think had this, like, they linger on a lot of the kills that are happening while the people are I mean, know that this sounds like morbid and makes me sound like a weirdo, but they really linger on like what's happening to some of the people, especially the grown-ups, like the cook when he the cook is hit with soup that is very hot.
He's dumping it.
Yeah, but, so he burns up, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but that's the thing that sucks is he gets burned up, and they cart him away, and he's still alive. Like, you want to see that guy die, and the pedophile is the one guy that lives, pretty much, except he has third-degree burns on his face. So
right.
I don't know. However, you know what this movie reminded me of in just in tone and in look and feel? Meatballs.
Because this is like a 1980s movie, everybody's wearing short shorts.
Yeah, it really has the feeling of Meatballs, but with a slasher involved.
Well, it's funny you say that because I mean they're both aimed at the same demographic of like the teenage male who would be going to the movies in the 1980s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, how did you first see this movie? Did you actually see it in the theater?
Oh. No, I was in third grade when this was out, and
could have happened.
Well, if I were, a liar, I'd say that I saw this on 42nd Street at the Grindhouse Theater where the scenes were missing, Nick. Right. But I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a liar. I actually didn't see this movie until it's. I'll just explain this. I would always see the cover at the video store, and I would always see the knife going through the sneaker, and it said Sleepaway Camp, and I was always like, I was judging shit when I was younger. Like, this is trying to be Friday the 13th. No way am I going to watch this junk. It's going to be terrible. Even though I love slashers, I just had a feeling it was going to suck. Right. So I didn't watch it till, I would say, probably around 87 or something like that. I just said, you know what, I'll just rent it. And I rented it, and I watched it, and I found it to be one of the dullest, boringest, trite, junk movies I've ever watched. Mm-hmm. And I was so bored out of my mind because you got to think, being a teenager watching this movie, well, I mean, for myself, I wanted more action. I wanted to see more blood and guts, and the blood and guts, even though it lingered in this one, there was no real, like, blood flying all over the place, because I was used to Friday 4, you know, and Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was used to gore, and I just wasn't getting it, and then I was not a fan of the terrible acting at the time. And then when I got to the end of the movie, that fucked me up. I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? So I discarded it. And, you know, a lot of movies back in the 80s, too, did this type of ending where, well, not this type of ending, but they would have this type of feel to them, which I'll talk about in a moment. But after that had happened, it always stuck with me, and I'm like, man, the end shot. It's not that Angela has a dick that was shocking to me. It was the face.
Right. I mean, let's set the scene a little here for the people.
Sorry.
If you've never seen this movie,
yeah.
Basically people are picked off one by one at the camp. Is there anything else you want to talk about, people being murdered or anything like that in this movie, or anything in particular you want to go right to the ending?
We'll get, yeah. I mean, a couple of things. The curling iron is great.
Mm-hmm.
And that one there bothers so many people, and if you want to see something that bothers knives and pussies, I highly recommend Night Train Murders and What Have You Done to Solange. But this one is not a knife in the vagina, it's a curling iron. And it happens to the biggest bitch of the movie, so you have to expect something to happen to the bitch. But I thought that was kind of brutal when Meg gets stabbed in the back.
Also, wait, that doesn't seem like it's, like, fatal. You notice that there's a couple of deaths in this movie. Getting stabbed in the back is another one that doesn't seem like it would be particularly fatal, the way that she is stabbed in the back, or the way that the other girl is heated up in the genitalia region.
Well, you got to assume that the hot curling iron went in and through. That's what I'm assuming. And it could have, like, screwed up her internal organs. I don't know. I'm not good at this.
However, we're not a doctor.
Yeah, but when Meg is stabbed, she's stabbed in the back, and it goes all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she has the long cut, and that's when Rubberface comes in, and he's like, "That's that little bastard Ricky," and he almost kills him.
Yeah, he starts just tangling with the little boy.
Yeah,
He's going to kill the little boy.
You know, but in rewatching the movie itself, a few years after, as I've really got into it, like, because we'll get into Sleepaway Camp 2, but it's Sleepaway Camp 2 that made me want to watch Sleepaway Camp again, for obvious reasons, and I grew to appreciate it more and fell in love with it more as the more I watched it over the years. Like, it's not something that I just watched, like, 2 weeks ago and I was like, oh yeah, I love the 80s, dude. I remember that time when, like, that she had a dick. That was so cool. No.
There's so many horror fans who sound exactly like that. But anyway.
Not saying I'm better than it. It's just these movies, I'll explain this real quick. A while ago, when the box set came out, as soon as the box set came out, I ran right to Best Buy when they actually had movies, and I had the Red Cross on the front of it, and they discontinued that. I had this set, and I would work nighttime, or night shift, and I'd come home, and the neighbors would always wake me up in the morning, piss me off. But what I did in the summer, and this came out during the summer, I remember, at least this is when I watched it, I watched all three straight through every single day. Like, every day I'd come home, I'd watch the Sleepaway Camp, and then try to go to sleep till I wake up, watch Sleepaway Camps again, watch the commentaries, like, over and over again. So, I don't know why I said that, but I did, and that just happened.
No, I can totally understand it. It's, like, they're very digestible movies. All three of them are, really. Ones you just take one after the other. And I guess throughout the movie, all right, Angela's portrayed as being quiet, right? She's not saying anything. She's not doing anything. She's always like the weird kid sitting off to the side who, looks like she's homeschooled, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, all these people start dying at the camp in various ways, and everybody starts like panicking. The police are called. The police start looking for people, and then we get to this series of events that leads to the end where Angela has been lured away by a boy to a beach at night.
Right.
You want to go from there?
That's Paul. Yeah, Paul is the one that she's been flirting with the whole time. Oh yeah, one of my favorite lines, and I'm probably going to butcher it right now because I'm all over the place. Is, "Hey Angela, why are you so fucked up?" It's Paul is the her love interest. Well, not love interest, I should say. Potential suitor, let's say. And Judy hooks up with Paul, and Angela catches her. She gets mad. Paul comes back, and he's like, "I'm so sorry. I totally fucked up. I'm so sorry." And then later on, she's like, "Hey, baby, by the beach," and he gets brought out to the beach, and then you can continue that.
Oh, okay. Well, the police come out and find her sitting on the beach, and she's naked there, and she's holding, is it Paul's head? And a big knife, and she's like humming softly.
Yeah,
and
she's rubbing his hair and just like humming to herself.
Ricky was beaten up by the old man who runs the camp. Yeah. He gets the crap beat out of him by an old man, except the old man gets shot by a bow and arrow.
Which is, you know what, by the way, is one of the coolest special effect shots in this movie. Because it's all one shot with the arrow going through him. That is a really cool way. The way they did that was really, really, really cool. So, props to the prop people.
So anyway, the whole movie, the naive 1983 viewer is led to believe that Ricky has been the killer. But suddenly Ricky is found like okay, and he's unconscious but alive, right. And they find that Angela apparently was the killer. But here comes the double twist. It's like a triple quadruple twist, and like none of this, it's not even necessary beyond the point that you find out that it's Angela who was killing people. That could be the end of any movie, is, oh, we thought it was the boy the whole time, turned out it was the girl. That could have been a movie twist. But instead, like, there's this flashback all of a sudden to when she was a little girl.
Which has been interspliced throughout the movie.
Right. Except not well, everything gets revealed here where she was originally a little boy who went on a boating excursion with her father and sister, or his father and sister, and a boat crashed into their boat, killing killing the father and the daughter, but also the friend who was nearby, who was on the beach, who you thought was like a minor, non-existent character, turned out that he was the secret lover of the father, and that like the boy and girl had once caught them together,
giggled,
getting it on and giggling, and now. Already you're entering into pretty taboo territory for a 1983 movie. Nowadays it's like, who the hell cares who's gay? But in 1983 they were like, these men, this father was gay? That was something for people to clutch their pearls over in 1983. And I mean, it goes much further, because then it goes to the aunt's house, right? Crazy aunt from the beginning, who you thought was only going to be in one scene, returns to be crazy in a flashback. And she's like, oh, you're a boy. I didn't know I adopted a boy. I wanted a girl or something. And you would make a beautiful girl. So then they dress up. She dresses up the boy as though he were a girl and calls him Angela. And Angela just kind of goes with it, because she gets also molested by her brother or something in the flashbacks. And like, for some reason we're led to believe that, all right, all of this comes together in this like massive taboo soup of
in 1 minute.
Yeah, exactly. In 1 minute you're hit with secret gay lover, what is it? Child molestation, forced transgenderism, and you're just like, wow, all of this at once. And then we cut back to real time in the movie, and Angela is standing up naked on the beach because they got naked to go swimming. And do you want to describe this, or do I want to describe this?
We can describe it at the same time.
Okay, simultaneously say the same thing as me. She's got a dick, but she's also she's got her mouth bent, like crazy open, like she looks kind of thrilled, but also she looks like she's silently screaming at the same time.
Right.
And it's a very weird shot of her face, just like and like thrilled screaming, like you would see someone do on a roller coaster, but there's no sound, which that's unsettling. But then it pulls back and it reveals that she's actually a dude, and she's got it's all very shadowy because I guess in 1983 they didn't want to show on full frontal male nudity because that could get you an X rating at the time.
No, that was actually a naked dude.
Right. But I don't think that they wanted to show you that because it could get you an X rating, is what I'm saying.
No, it can get you an X rating if the dick is hard.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. This dick was definitely not hard.
But anyway, the scene looks so weird because it's Angela's head with open, gaping mouth superimposed on a scrawny dude who's naked, and he's got like this shadowy part of his genitals just above it, which I guess is 1983 non-manscaping man hair, which kind of looks like a shadowy realm, which the penis then extends from.
It looks like an egg in a bird's nest.
It does kind of. Yeah. And she's holding a bloody knife and she's covered in blood, and it's like, and then the movie ends, and it all right. Now, there's a lot of there's a spectrum of reactions you can have to this ending.
Right.
Based on when you saw it and how you feel and who you are.
Because if you watch a movie like this now and people are talking about, oh, you got to see the ending, then this ending has been replicated a lot, especially by The Crying Game, which was like a big deal. And I'm like, wait a second, guys. This other movie here is called Sleepaway Camp, and it's,
And, it's also a weird personality test because based on how people react to this ending, you can tell, so much about someone. Like, I can watch this ending and be like, what the fuck was that? Like, why did you have to even include all of this? Like, you didn't need – you had me at it was actually the girl. You didn't need to throw in all this other stuff. And it's all – stuff that's not as taboo to talk about now as it was in 1983, fucking clearly, And if someone, and there's a lot of horror fans who do this, see this movie today and are like, but the killer had a dick. Yeah. It's like that you're learning a lot about your friend. You know what I mean? It's not as big a deal. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's just different.
The way I saw it was just unexpected and awkward and horrifying all at the same time.
Right, because it's that weird mix of all these things together, and especially the face of the person and stuff.
Severed
the face
head,
of
penis, mouth open,
sharp
knife, gay dad. It's like, wait a minute. That's the cool thing about it. And that, the cheap part of it is the dick. That's the novelty of the ending.
I guess.
But it's the culmination of everything that is actually really intriguing, in a sense. Like, it actually, the end of this movie makes up for the shit that you just fucking sat through.
Kind of.
And then when you watch it again, it gets more... I find it gets more entertaining when you watch it again. For me, it
probably, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it more now than even when I saw it before. But
you want to hear something horrifying?
What's that?
Angela in this movie looked exactly like my ex-girlfriend that I was with for a while, and she made the same faces and would just be silent. and just stare and shit. And when we were together, I would go, "You're freaking me out. Start talking." And she goes, "Why?" I'm like, "'Cause I swear, if you're a dude, this ain't gonna work." She's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I'll just show you." And I showed her the movie, and she freaked out. She was like, "Oh my god, that's me." I'm like, "I know. It's terrifying." So anyway.
But yeah, so like I think also when you watch this movie, you have to think, well, this is happening in 1983, and it's kind of like when you watch Psycho, and you have to think, well, this is happening in the 1960s. You know, when you get to the end of Psycho, and I don't mean like the reveals or anything like that. I mean that weird shot, the weird scene in the police station at the end where they have to explain what being a transvestite is. You know?
Oh yeah, like Psycho. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
You have to think that about the people who are watching this movie at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the time, somebody would look at this and think, well, of course she was fucked up. She had gay dads.
Yeah.
You know?
And,
or like,
dude, that's what they did with spoiler alert, Hide and Go Shriek. Same thing.
yeah.
And Killer was a transy, and he was gay, and he dressed up. What is it? Terror Train had the same type of thing going on.
Right, and I mean, like, basically, I think that because it was, like, so much less understood at the time, they
Right.
were able to conflate it as being, well, this person's just crazy. So
Yeah.
they must be also, like, there was no difference between being transgender and being a psycho killer to them because they just didn't understand it at all. And, I mean, like, not only did they not try to, but there was not the scientific information that is available now that was available then, versus what was available then, you know?
Right.
Back then, they probably thought it was just a disorder that could be treated, you know?
Yep.
And, I mean, now it's like, well, if somebody's going to be a woman, they're a woman. You can't help it. You know, they're going to live their life how they want. People are generally more – I say generally. I mean, like, you know, in general, people
Right.
can be more respectful to how people are going to live their lives, especially – versus the 1980s, Reagan's America, for Christ's sake, if you could imagine.
Well, and also, I mean, that's why, speaking of Psycho, that's why they had to describe everything for the audience back then, because you're talking 1960.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a guy dressed up as his mother killing people. They're like, wait a minute, is this guy gay? We don't like this movie. For him.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? Years later, during this time, Dressed to Kill even had that was like almost like De Palma's remake of Psycho, but you get the idea. Like, guy dressed up as a woman slashing people, like it was a thing, but this one here was it was a boy who was forced to be a girl by a crazy aunt who was psychotic.
Right. And also she was molested as a child.
Yeah.
And somehow this led to her going on a killing spree.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
How did you first see it? You saw it on Monsters HD?
Yeah, I said I think I saw it in college, but I mean I already knew the twist before I saw it, even the first time. Just like when like there was nothing surprising about it. It was just like, oh, here comes that part.
That's a fucking shame because just imagine like just renting this movie unknowing. You know, where you don't.
I guess,
know.
Yeah.
I mean, your reaction would be at the time like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Right. No, it's a lot of taboo subjects. Like I can't even think of like what would be the modern equivalent of what this must have been like in the 80s. And it's like you can't even maybe. Maybe. I hope so, man. I hope in 30 years that's not normal.
Me too.
But I guess so. Yeah, a Serbian. But I mean, well, yeah, a Serbian film. Go watch that movie.
Don't
kids.
even talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring all that up. No, you see, it's so taboo. We don't even want to be like, oh man, lots of kids getting Anyway, so in this movie, all right. So let's say this. This is a thought experiment. If Sleepaway Camp came out today, the exact same movie, but 2017 level of quality filmmaking, and it's the exact same story,
it wouldn't happen.
It would be so stupid. We would just be like, I can't even believe that they thought that this was an appropriate story to tell, or anything like that.
The witch hunters would be out in full force on the social media. It would be hashtag ban Sleepaway Camp.
Right, but I mean, it would be so unclever by modern standards that even we'd be like, what are these people doing? Really, the only people who would make this would be the companies that are below trauma level of direct-to-video garbage, the Bills Abubs of the world.
But you wouldn't be able to see half of it if it were made today.
Right. And in fact, I would put, if that came out today, it would have to be in the same category as Beelzebub's Dick Shark. You know what I mean? Where it's this is really, really just dumb, cheap, an excuse for boobs and blood, which is fine. You can have that. I've certainly seen Beelzebub movies, and I think you have Dick Shark coming to you on DVD, don't you?
Eat shit and live, Nikki.
I'm not saying
eat shit and die, Ricky. Eat shit and live.
Oh man,
I love the banter between the kids in this too, man. It's so good. If you're into, that's another big issue. If this movie were made today, they would be the most unlikable kids you could possibly imagine, more so than they already are in this movie. But the just how mean they are to each other is so cool. I really like it. I don't know.
Man.
I enjoy it.
So
we got a second one coming up.
Yeah, we do. So overall, I'd say you can only if I was going to recommend you watch this movie, it would be because you like campy stuff and you kind of want to know about the history of horror, but you've already seen all the other stuff that actually matters, and you just want to see what this Sleepaway Camp movie's all about. But you have to be ready to accept the cheesy, corny, campy Sleepaway Camp movie that takes itself way too seriously and does not have the ability to deal with any of the subject matter or even present you with standard level of acting quality that you would expect in a movie film, it's not so bad it's good. It's so bad, but it's still fun to watch.
It's completely watchable.
Absolutely. Very digestible. That's how I'd put it.
So, we have a second one coming up.
Yes, we do.
You know what it's called, Nick?
Sleepaway Camp Dose.
Unhappy Campers.
Oh, man, it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers. Rated R. 1988. This one was directed by Michael A. Simpson, with written by Fritz Gordon, based on characters by this one, get ready, stars the love of my life, Pamela Springsteen, Renee Estevez, Tony Higgins, Valerie Hartman, Brian Patrick Clark, Walter Agatel, Susan Marie Snyder. The plot synopsis for this one, according to IMDb and your person speaking right now, Jack. Angela, supposedly reformed and living under an assumed surname, is working at a summer camp. However, when the campers start misbehaving, she soon reverts to her old ways. So, Sleepaway Camp 2.
Right.
Sleepaway Camp 2.
The first thing that's really obviously noticeable about the movie is that they changed Angela's. They went from a mute girl who doesn't talk, and the actress was very homely, looked like she had been homeschooled, seemed mousy and quiet and strange. They switch to Pamela Springsteen, the younger sister of Bruce Springsteen.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like...
one of the most charismatic killers in slasher history.
Good way to put it. Absolutely, I agree.
If I didn't have a girlfriend right now, and if I were older, I would do anything to marry Pamela Springsteen.
Even more than Neve Campbell?
Maybe, yeah, because Neve Campbell's not into horror, so and neither is Pamela Springsteen really, but Pamela Springsteen is not a hot woman. That's the weird thing, and
she's very girl next door.
But she looks like Bruce Springsteen too, which is disgusting, and I don't find him attractive. But her, dude, all right, let me explain this real quick. I just have to do this just to get this off my chest.
Sure,
right.
We're all waiting.
Okay. So, when I first watched this movie, you're going to laugh at this because it's going to bring us back. We're going to get in a time machine, okay? Now, I watched this. The same shit happened to me with this movie happened with Sleepaway Camp, where I couldn't wait to watch it because the cover had the Jason mask and a Freddy glove and a girl carrying all of them. And I said, oh my God, this is like every movie I've love. This is gonna be great. And I watched it, and I saw this girl, Pamela Springsteen, who looked like my gym teacher in middle school. And I was like, this movie's terrible. Like, I was watching it, and I said, I can't stand her. She's disgusting. And this is stupid. This is not even remotely close to what I was expecting. The next day, my parents were driving me out to a comic book convention, the first one I ever went to in Valley Forge. And that's where I got my second issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, by the way. And on the way there, I couldn't get Sleepaway Camp 2 out of my head. I couldn't shake it. Like, I just kept thinking, and I'm like, that freaking ugly girl that looks like my gym teacher. It's just like, ew, 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 ew. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And then it just stuck with me. Years later, I rented it again, and I fell in love with it. I loved it, and I loved Pamela Springsteen. I thought she was one of the most adorable things in the world, man. Sorry, but that's just my personal love for this movie. It is in... Nick may know this about me. You, the listener listening to this, may not know this about me, but this movie is in my top 10 of all-time horror movies, and I'm not saying that ironically. I absolutely, wholeheartedly love this film. Like, if I could marry a movie, it would be Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers. So, just bear with me if I get a little excited talking about this one. But go ahead.
No, it's that is one of the first changes. Is all right. Angela is charismatic. She's totally loves being a camper. Mm-hmm. She's totally happy to be at camp now. She wants everybody to sing. She's one of the counselors, in fact. Right. She wants everybody to sing the "I'm a Happy Camper" song that she loves. Because I don't know, I guess going to camp was the happiest thing that ever happened to her. And she's the weirdest thing is the person who runs the camp is her uncle. And I don't understand. Like, I guess that they were just like.
Well, I think they just called him Uncle John.
Oh, okay. Because I thought,
go ahead. Sorry.
Let's say your niece goes on a killing rampage at a camp. Would you then 15 years later, even if she reformed, wouldn't you think twice before you hired her as a counselor at your camp?
Well, don't forget she's using a surname.
Okay.
An assumed surname. And don't forget, now, this
a surname wouldn't fool your uncle. Anyway, keep going.
She's... Okay, so the overt but not so overt thing about Sleepaway Camp 2 is every single character in it is named after the Rat Pack. And the camp counselor, Uncle John, is for John Hughes. And it stars Renee Estevez, who is Emilio's sister, who's still a working actress, but the characters' names are Molly, Sean, Allie, TC, Uncle John, Mare, Rob, Demi, Lee, Brooke, Jody. So, oh yeah, Phoebe. I forget about Phoebe. Emilio. I mean, it's pretty. It's almost like Night of the Creeps. So here comes Detective Cameron, and
Yes. Going to work at Romero Industries.
Romero, yes. So that's one thing that, and you don't really notice it. That's the cool thing about it, where they don't really. They say the names, but it's not like, oh yeah, it's on the nose, you know?
Mm-hmm. And this movie now, it came out in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's really weird to me, Sleepaway Camp 1 takes itself seriously, even though it really shouldn't. Sleepaway Camp 3, which we're going to get to, is kind of a cornball comedy. It's really corny and campy and ridiculous. Right. And this movie is a bridge between those two.
Right.
And tonally, it kind of shifts between being really serious and being
That's why I love
not.
it. That's the thing I love about it. I mean, I love it. Angela, like, when she kills people, she doesn't want to. She still does, but you could see the disgust in her face when she's doing it.
She's really disappointed that they screwed up to the point where, well, now I've got to kill you.
Yeah. She's really mad about killing people. She doesn't want to, but she has to because they're not doing what she wants, and that's having a good time at camp and being nice. Dude, I am totally behind Angela in this movie.
Oh, yeah. No, she's very much the hero of the movie. Everyone else is such an unlikable dickhead that you're like, oh, yeah, I'm totally cheering for her. And that's why this movie, parts 2 and 3, are very smart. Because they're giving you the first one doesn't tell you who the slasher is until the last minutes of the film. Mm-hmm. And you think it's somebody else the whole time. It's almost like a Giallo movie in that way. You know what I mean? Not that I'm at all comparing these movies to Giallo movies, but in the way that it's like a mystery killer with a big twist at the end.
Or a mystery slasher. A lot of slashers did that too. Like even Friday the 13th was the same exact thing, where you have the mystery killer. Mm-hmm.
Comes out in the late 80s when everyone has not everyone had this figured out, but the people who made this movie figured out, wait a minute, people love Jason. They love Freddy. They want to love the killer.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie gives you.
This was the snark, yep.
Yeah, they don't always do that. They might make a sympathetic killer, but they don't give you one that you outright want to cheer as they kill a bunch of kids.
Well, and this is, keep in mind, this is right at the not right at that. I mean, the slasher shit came and left way before all this happened. Like the slashers were actually dying when Sleepaway Camp came out. Oh, yeah. But then Nightmare on Elm Street came out, and that reboosted the genre again. Once that did, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 came out and started to kill it again because it wasn't like the first one. And then Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is the peak in where everybody said, okay, let's make snarky killers. And that's where Angela came in. And who's the other one? The slasher that guy was killing everybody, or making jokes. Was it Wishmaster? I think it was Wishmaster. But that was like 1990. The cool thing is that this came out right after, but this was straight to tape. Like this did not have a theatrical run as far as I know. And the snark that she does in this, though, is true to the character. She's not just saying one-liners just to say them. She actually gives a shit. So I would say that this movie is probably a masterpiece. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a masterpiece, but you know what I mean. I mean, the way it's handled. It actually feels like summer too. Like, I know I'm going off on a tangent. I'm fucking sorry, but this is like you're describing to somebody the person you just married, kind of thing. Okay, sorry, but like, it's the perfect summer movie. Like, if you watch this during the winter, you're not going to have a good time. If you watch this when it's hot as shit out and sun's coming through the windows and you're sweating your ass off, perfect movie. Go on, Nick. Sorry.
No, I mean, with this movie, I don't even feel like we have to go over the plot of Sleepaway Camp 2. It's basically like Angela walks in on people smoking pot and drinking, kills them. Angela walks into a room where two people were secretly fucking. She murders them. This is like everything in the movie over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of like silly 80s again, like the Meatballs type of frat comedy tropes, like there has to be a panty raid on the girls' cabin, which I feel like nothing like that ever happened in real life.
No, we tried to do it in middle school, but the teachers stopped that.
Where in the school?
No. We went on a camping trip where they had all the boys were in the boys' cabins and the girls were in the girls' cabins, and we were all talking about, all right, we're going to sneak out and we're going to do a panty raid at the girls. And I'm like, cool. And teacher was like right at the door the whole night. He's like, your kids ain't going anywhere.
Right. And I don't know, like a lot of other stupid things, like boys peeping in the windows at girls, taking Polaroid photos of them taking their shirts off and stuff. Other stuff like that throughout the movies.
Speaking of, you gotta hand it to the girl that played Allie, Valerie Hartman, who gets dumped down the what is that thing called? The outhouse. She has her boobs out probably, I think it's 3 or 4 times in this movie, and they're lovely to look at.
Right, there's one scene where she's literally like, what, you never seen boobs before? Here's some boobs.
Here's some boobs, yeah.
Literally happens in this movie.
She was in, she has 3 credits to her career. It is Sleepaway Camp 2 on Happy Campers, 1 episode of Cheers, and another movie called Intimate Obsession. That's it.
Wow.
However, she was a production assistant on Sleepaway Camp 3. Which we're going to get to soon. Now, you know that Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 were filmed back-to-back.
They were?
Yeah, which boggles my mind. Same director, too, which we'll get to in 3 when we get to 3, because I'll explain that. I'll keep the listeners in suspense if there is such a thing on our show.
Save that one. I mean, my God, this movie... I keep saying this movie, but I'm talking about part 2.
Unhappy Campers. Listen, I have shirts from this movie. I have posters. I have the whipping stick that she... No, I'm just kidding. I wish I did. I should actually go get a branch in my backyard. Shit, it's like a trail. I should go to my trail and get a branch and say, this is from Sleepaway Camp 2. That's what people do these days.
Frame it.
I should.
Also in part 2, there's a scene... What's that?
No, go ahead. Your turn, please.
Okay, so Angela discovers that some of the boys were taking naked pictures of various campers that they had taken from their peeping spots, right? Mm-hmm. And the night that they go out into the woods to go camping instead of staying in their cabins. And Angela... Like, they're going to scare Angela, and they're dressed up as Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, which is why those guys made the cover of the box for no reason. And so Angela comes out wearing presumably one of the people she's killed faces so that she could be Leatherface. Like,
they don't say.
This movie is the original movie that did the campy 80s reference while still in the 80s.
And,
that's something.
Yeah, you gotta admit, I mean, so did Night of the Creeps. Let's not forget, it did.
Oh, yeah.
However, this one did it better, I think, as far as, well, not really. It really didn't, but you know what I mean. It's, Nick. You know what's really cool about Sleepaway Camp 2 on Happy Campers?
What would that be?
She kills everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody dies. Even Renee Estevez, who's the final girl, you know she's dead at the end of this movie.
All right. She kills people who's not in the movie when she just goes out and she's hitchhiking and kills a truck driver for no reason.
Because she is the most annoying fucking person in this entire movie. And that's what I love. Dude, it's like Angela... Listen, people... Angela in this movie is your subconscious... No. It's your inner voice when you're dealing with people on a regular basis. It's your inner voice when you're listening to me blabber, okay, where you're like, I just want to kill that dude. You know, this is the movie that does that. That's why I connect with it so much. I'm not going to do that shit, but it's actually this is one of the most cathartic horror movies that exists. Right,
it's therapy for keeping you at bay from actually killing all the people around you.
And again, I'm not saying this ironically. I really feel this way about it. I'm genuine in my excitement.
Also, there's this weird undercurrent to parts 2 and 3 where occasionally they have to remind you that Angela is actually a boy, even though it's the clearly feminine Pamela Springsteen.
Right.
And they'll be like there'll be like a scene where she's changing, but her bra will be like this huge prosthetic with giant fake boobs on it for some reason that she doesn't even have when she's wearing a sweatshirt.
Right.
And it's like they do these little things almost as a reference to the first movie, but also it's completely irrelevant in parts 2 and 3. Like all the weird shit that they dreamt up as her bizarre backstory in that last scene of the first movie, completely irrelevant in parts 2 and 3.
Yeah, and watching 2 and 3, I watched 2 and 3. Well, I'd say I watched 2 more than any of them. I don't even think that she has a dick at all. Like, I don't even think that. Right.
Oh, so this is a post-op Angela is what you're saying.
Yeah, but...
You're fanficking that in.
No. I'm just saying my own brain doesn't go to, oh yeah, that's right, Angela has a dick. No, I don't even think that. I just think that this is just a crazy woman who wants to have a good time at camp.
It's like a different movie, except it couldn't exist without the first one.
Right.
That's what's so weird about it.
Oh my god, we should have Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers every year. We should just record an episode talking.
Well, I watched it again this year and I noticed like that.
Did you want to hear, this is totally off topic, but I was browsing the podcasts to listen to, and I know you're not a big fan of the Burbs, but your wife is, I know that. Did you know that there is a podcast that exists? I haven't downloaded it. Every episode is a minute long, and it's 1 minute of the Burbs.
Really? Now, I heard that somebody was doing that with Star Wars, where every episode was a minute long, and it was a minute of Star Wars.
But it's the Burbs.
Well, I can't imagine why someone would do that.
I can, but that's a whole other subject. I could do that for this movie. I do like 30-second increments and talk for an hour for those 30 seconds. Like, seriously, I'm holding back a lot of shit because I don't want to ruin this. If you only saw Sleepaway Camp 1, you're like, maybe I'll check out Sleepaway Camp 2, or you know what, fuck that. You're doing yourself a disservice by not watching this movie constantly because it's like therapy. The movie should... Fuck the therapist. Fuck going to see a therapist. Just put this movie in, you'll be fine. Seriously, when I have a bad day at work, I come home, I'm watching Sleepaway Camp 2. Because it makes me feel better. Did I tell you how adorable Pamela Springsteen is?
Like, it's really weird because she's especially atypical of what they thought was hot in the 80s, where, like, every girl had to be that all-American blonde and boobed girl, you know? That was very much a thing in the 80s. And and I think that that's part of the reason why you're having this type of reaction to her is that she seems gettable for you. You know what I mean? For your 1980s self, maybe. Even though she's probably not, but she seems gettable relative to all the other famous women of the 80s who wouldn't give you any time.
Do you know... Do you know that Pamela Springsteen was in a movie called Modern Girls in 1986, which also starred, get ready for this, this is great, Virginia Madsen, Cynthia Gibb, Daphne Zuniga, Clayton Rohner, who everybody remembers from like every 80s movie, including April Fool's Day. Just think about that cast and Pamela Springsteen in a movie called Modern Girls. What did I do? Yeah, I purchased that. Why? Because Pamela Springsteen's in it.
Oh, man. Every time that you say, let me tell you a story about 1980s Pamela Springsteen, I'm afraid that we're going to get to the point where you admit that you masturbated more to any given thing of Pamela Springsteen than anybody else. And I don't want you to follow up on that statement, but I'm afraid that it's coming.
No, I didn't. I
Please
did
stop.
see her boobs in a movie.
What movie?
I think it's, it was something where she was in a lake or something. I can't remember the name of it.
She's only been in like 5 movies.
She's been in more than 5, but she was in Sleepaway Camp 2, Sleepaway Camp 3.
I don't need her whole history.
She was in Fast Food, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and let's not forget, she was the cheerleader on the left. And she does have a speaking role in it, where she's getting, and you know what? Her role in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I'm sure, got her this role because she's a cheerleader and nobody's getting into it, much like everybody in high school. Whenever cheerleaders are all excited, especially my high school, they were like, fuck you girls, we don't care. They're like, hey, let's get all excited. Nobody was, and she was mad because they weren't getting excited. So it's like, well, she's mad in this because they're not excited about camp.
Mm-hmm. Man, so...
My science project. She was a hall monitor in my science project. She is, you know...
Stop.
Bruce Springsteen's book...
Oh my God! So do you think she's now she's not acting anymore? Do you think she's living off that Springsteen estate?
No, she's actually a photographer, and she is. She's a full-fledged photographer. Wants nothing to do with their movie career. Doesn't even want to talk about it anymore. She's happy and content, and she has done a lot of photographs for Bruce Springsteen. And as far as I can tell, or have been told, that she has. Taken photographs for certain albums of his, too.
All right. Well, is there anything else about Sleepaway Camp 2 that is reasonable that you would like to talk about? I mean, I feel like we didn't talk about almost any of the kills in this movie.
Let's talk about the kills real quick. How about the Shit Sisters? Where she sets them on fire. Yes?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
She calls them the Shit Sisters, too.
Yeah.
And they say words she doesn't like.
You know, one of the best kills in this is, what's her name? Was it Molly? Is that what her name is?
That's Molly's the last girl, isn't it? The one who gets away and then she gets strangled by her or something?
Yeah, well, Molly is Renee Estevez. What the hell's her name? Where she strangles her with the guitar string, but she is, like... trying all these things while she just keeps talking and talking.
Right. And she's just delivering like her dialogue while she's murdering people, like she would be like passively aggressively, like in any other movie she'd be like, you know, cutting some food to make it for dinner. Well, I tried to tell you not to do this or that. Except in this movie, Angela is like chopping up a person, being like, well, I tried to tell you. You know, that's the delivery in every kill. And
you know, the where she goes to teen eyeballs or whatever, reaching it, like it even has a fall feeling to it too, doesn't it?
Yeah, because they're wearing sweatshirts pretty iconically. Damn it,
man, sorry, I love this movie. Oh yeah, so the cool thing is the kid in this. The kid, Jesus Christ, the guy that plays Sean, when she chops his head off and puts it in the TV, when Molly wakes up and she's like, yeah, look who's on TV, it's great. Like the entire, like this, the atypical setup of all the bodies around the cabin with all the flies on them and
That's
shit.
exactly what I wanted to mention before we finish, was that she sets up her own murder house where she makes it. Everyone in all the dead bodies she sets up in a diorama of people having a good time at camp.
There's a picture I posted, and you guys can Google this, and girls too, I'm not sexist, where it's Pamela Springsteen just like reading a little book with all the dead bodies around her, and it's not a scene from the movie. It's shot during that scene. It's one of the coolest shots.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool. I put it up on my Facebook page, and somebody that's a noted like horror person and writer and critic said, "What is that?" And I said, "Sleepaway Camp 2, you son of a bitch." Like, he said, "Noted, thank you." Oh my god.
Oh man.
God damn.
So, Sleepaway Camp 2, that's
one of the greatest horror movies ever made.
As per Jack Knapp.
As per me, dude.
I said your full name.
I say that. Listen, I'm not. I'm not a hipster. I'm not saying things ironically and oh yeah, this movie. So no, I love this movie, and anything that's shitty that I love, I like. Okay, Nick. Again, we're bringing this movie up. Samurai Cop. I can watch that movie on repeat for years and years and years and not get tired of it because I love it that much.
Absolutely.
And it's not just because it's a shitty movie. It is actually, every scene has something entertaining and fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is no Samurai Cop. It's a totally different movie. It's a lot more serious than that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That, you know, both Samurai Cop or this movie, it could fill any sort of void where you're waiting for something, or you just have a night with nothing to do, you want to watch something, or if it's a summer night where you just want to watch a dumb horror movie and you're trying to have a drink, this is fine for that, you know?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm more than likely this summer going to either the drive-in in the Poconos or in Phoenixville. They're having Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 back to back. The drive-in is having that, and instead of having all three, I don't know why, it must be a rights thing. Summer Camp Nightmare, which is not a slasher movie by any means. Anyway, so Sleepaway Camp 3 is coming up.
Yeah, let's talk about that movie.
Oh my god.
Sleepaway Camp 3 Teenage Wasteland is the third movie in the series. And as I said before, this movie does complete the transition from a movie that takes itself too seriously, is a traditional slasher, to cornball, just corny, goofy, campy humor, and also some bloody horror. So, this movie features different people in it. Do you really want me to read the names? Nobody knows who these people are, do they?
Yeah, Michael J. Pollard, everybody knows.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, I know him. Who's he?
Michael J. Pollard?
Is he the guy who looks like Joe Piscopo who's in this movie?
Michael J. Pollard is like an Academy Award. Dude, he's... All right. Michael J. Pollard was in Scrooged, which you probably don't like. He was in Bonnie and Clyde.
The guy who plays Herman.
Herman, yes.
Okay, because in
Cash.
this movie, his character name is Herman.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. Anyway. Yeah, he kind of looks like if Ivan Moody from Five Finger Death Punch lives to be 60 years old, which becomes more and more questionable every day if you follow Five Finger Death Punch. But anyway.
Also, how dare you say nobody knows anybody, because who's the most important person in this movie?
Oh, of course. Returning as Angela is Pamela Springsteen.
Yes, thank you. Pamela Springsteen, who looks like shit in this movie.
Now, that's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because, okay, so in the first movie, Angela is a teenager who is at a camp. Right. In the second movie, which takes place 5 years later, 6 years later, she's a counselor.
With long curly hair that's kind of all over the place, and she has like horse teeth, and she's beautiful. Right. Now she's like, she kills this girl with no boobs.
Hold on. Well, the synopsis of this movie would say, I'm not reading one, I'm just going to give you a one-sentence synopsis of the movie. Angela returns as a camper? rather than a counselor.
Angela returns as a, let's say, hair metal band look-alike. What are they called? The ones that fuck the band. Brody? No, groupie. That's the.
Yeah, no, she's got like suddenly her hair goes from like, tightened to her head in a ponytail to huge, kind of like a fluffy dog looking haircut.
Yes, because she's trying to look like the girl in the beginning who she kills and runs over with a trash.
The first scene of the movie is this girl is getting woken up by her mother to go to camp. Mother is off screen and not shown and is just, go to fucking camp! You have to wake up! And it's clear that they're sending like the bad kids who should be going to juvenile detention centers to camp. That's the type of sleepaway camp we're dealing with in the third movie. And this girl, for no reason, she's like getting out of bed. She takes off her clothes. They show how minuscule her boobs are, which is what I think that they only show that she has really small boobs. Like she takes off her shirt and she's got like, smaller boobs than most men. And like, I think that they only show that to be like, oh, well, of course, because Angela's actually has a male body, and therefore she can properly impersonate this other girl, right?
Right.
I think that that's the only reason that they're doing it. So this girl, she lives in the streets in New York, and she's walking over to the bus stop to where she's gonna get on the bus and go to upstate New York to the camp. Except like a dump truck starts chasing her up the street and like up a back alley and just like runs her over. And Pamela Springsteen gets out of the truck and is just like, "I'm taking your jacket." and leaves her dead body in an alley hit by a dump truck, and she goes to camp in her place. Like, that's the setup. That's the premise. This is nonsense, and I think it's great. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna take your place by killing you and then putting on your jacket. That is literally a mechanic in the video game Hitman, where you go around killing. You killed the gardener and you steal his clothes, so you're the gardener now. Like, what?
Yep.
It makes no sense, and it's wonderful. So she goes to camp, and she's like clearly nearly 30 years old at this point. Everybody else at the camp, though, is pretty old looking too. It's all played like pretty much everything about the first movie having actual kids in it. Nope. We're in the late 80s now. We're at the point where everybody is, 25 playing a 15-year-old, or sometimes 35 playing an 18-year-old. Oh man. So what happens in the where does this? I think it starts in a similar place, right? Like,
well,
she's.
No, go ahead.
I mean, when they get to camp, it starts at a similar place. Obviously, the movie starts in a ridiculous place.
Well, yeah, they're all bad kids that are being reformed.
Right.
And you get to meet all of them by a news reporter who is interviewing all of them. So that's how you meet the entire cast of this movie. One by one, she's like interviewing.
She's doing like a fluff piece on like, here at this camp, they turn these kids straight.
Right, like the news would actually give a shit. Seriously. Like the news, this would be like a 5-second piece at the end of the news. You know?
But of course it's live.
Right. Oh my god. So I said that this movie was filmed right after the second one, which it was. They filmed them back to back. Completely different feel. It feels like this one was filmed like 5 years later.
Oh yeah. I actually was surprised that they filmed them back to back.
Yeah.
I mean it because it looks different and it feels different. Like tonally, it is just. And any sense of seriousness is just completely gone. Like, almost like they gave up halfway through filming and were like, fuck it, we're going crazy with this one. There is so much silly shit that happens in this movie. I almost don't know how to go over it without going, like, scene by scene, which I really don't want to do because I really just want to talk about how much I like this movie. And I mean, I love this movie. I don't know if I love it more than Jack does or not, but I actually really love this movie, and I'm not trying to compete with his love of Part 2. It's not my top 10 favorite movie ever, but I think that this movie is slightly brilliant. Part 3 here. Just like every stupid thing that you could think of, like there's a black character in it. And of course, he doesn't want to get challenged or he'll pull out a gun, you know? Like that happens in this movie. Like it's so simple and so stupid. Oh man.
That's twice you're going to get hit.
It's so no. I mean, like, how stupid is that? Like, how dumb does someone have to be to write that in? And you're like, oh my god, come on.
It was it was not very well thought out, but I mean, nothing in the series is. I would say that Sleepaway Camp 3 has the better kills than 1. Well, 1 has the worst kills. There's a couple of good ones in it. 2 has some really good ones, especially the outhouse one. But this one here just has some of the goofiest kills with like a lawnmower and like fireworks and
not just a lawnmower, but a woman gets buried up to her neck in a garbage hole. By which I mean a hole filled with garbage bags, and then her head gets lawnmowered off. And yeah, like everything that's happening in it is the stuff that you wish was happening in other slashers from the same time period.
And let's not forget the father of what's his name from Sleepaway Camp 2 is a character in this who's the cop.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the counselors.
He's the Joe Piscopo looking guy.
That's the Joe Piscopo guy. Okay.
Right. Who shows up because, like, of course, on like day one of this camp between these rough street kids, there's one of them they have to have a knife fight with each other at the main hall while they're trying to sing the Happy Camper song. And he like comes in, and this part is so fucking funny where he like grabs the one kid with the knife and like gently pulls his hand with the knife around his own neck, and he's holding it there until just like the fight dissipates. And I'm like, I remember the first time I saw that, and I remember watching it again the other night. Again, all these movies are on YouTube in their entirety. You can find them on there in playlists, or we should have mentioned that at the top of the show, actually. But yeah, all of these movies are on YouTube in their entirety because people have illegally posted them. But I think that this part where he pulls the knife to the dude's own neck is just so funny and goofy because it's like they're clearly trying to establish him as some sort of badass, but he doesn't look like a capable badass, and he's not doing anything. Like, the dude just lets him grab him by the wrist and twist it back. He's not... He didn't do anything. I love that stupid thing. And there's so many stupid moments in this movie. I mean, I'm getting exhausted talking about
clean
it.
up?
Like, I don't know where to start. There's a part where she's going to kill, and now we're just going to get out of order and just be ridiculous. I know it. But there's a part where she's going to kill the black guy, the black kid, and because it's like racist stereotype town in the 1980s, the dude is alone in his tent, and she just throws a cassette tape in. And naturally, he's a black guy in the 80s, so he has a boombox next to him that he puts the cassette tape in. Doesn't even look out the door and say, hey, who threw that in here? No, he just puts it in, and it's a song of her rapping. Like, where'd she record this? Where'd she record this? And of course, it's terrible rapping. And
no, it's
the guy
not. Pamela Springsteen can do nothing wrong, Nick.
Oh my god!
Except in this movie, she can.
And then she just like murders this black dude because he's listening to her rap, and he's like, "Hey, this rap slightly makes fun of me," and gets murdered. Like, this is how this movie goes,
dude.
So stupid.
The branch that she uses to kill Michael J. Pollard and the girl that he's banging on this side.
Oh,
how she just hits them over the head like repeatedly. Like, it's like, thwap, 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 thwap.
Shit, man, nobody told her to hold it like a baseball bat or something. She's just like,
Flagpole kill, Nick.
Oh, yeah, I know, the flagpole kill. The whole thing with the flagpole kill is wonderful. I think, what were they doing? All right, so Angela and this other girl are paired up, and they're doing some sort of trust building technique thing, right? Where, like, first she blindfolds Angela, and then what does she do to her? Like, she's supposed to, like, treat her nicely, or, like, I forget what the exact thing is. God, I wish I remember.
Wait a minute, what's this now?
The flagpole kill. Like, she's blindfolded at the time, right?
Right.
Why is she blindfolded?
Why not?
I don't know. Anyway, she blindfolds the other girl, and she's like, let me blindfold you now, and we'll play this game. And they're walking along, and she's like, hey, have you ever had premarital sex? And she's like, of course, everyone has. And she's like, uh-huh. And have you ever done drugs, you know? And she's like, well, sometimes. And have you ever, what's the third one? Have you ever drank or something like that? And she's like, well, sometimes. I mean, we all have to. And she's like, yep, that's strike 3. So she hooks her belt up to a flagpole and just, like, pulls her up in the air. And she's like, hey, what are you doing to me? And then she drops her off the flagpole, and it's really goofy looking as they drop a mannequin into a pile of dirt. And it's wonderful. You're just like, oh, that's so funny. Because you know that they're asking her, like, the questions of this. It's almost like what would follow many years later in Scream, but not nearly as clever or as smart as it means to be, because it's clearly making fun of slasher movies before making fun of slasher movies was a thing, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, this did that, but so did, what the hell was it? Evil Laugh, and there was, there's nothing out there which didn't make fun of slashers, per se. But, you know, that's a thing that happens with these movies too, Nick, and it's every genre. Once the parody comes out, it's over. Like, party's over, man. You know what I mean? Like the scary movies when they came out, and once they started making fun of The Ring, those movies are done. Horror's over. It's time to put it to rest. That should be the cue for everybody. And I mean, this here is actually the cue for slashers to be done with.
Again?
Yeah, again. Yes. And then some, yes. Because nothing got reinvented until 96 when Scream came out. So,
right. It was I mean, like, really, I've talked about it before. I think that the first 5 years of the 90s are like some of the worst years for horror movies. Well,
there's
like
some good ones. I mean,
there's a lot of bad ones.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Or where even like the bar gets lowered to the point where the slasher movies coming out were like, you know, Leprechaun in Las Vegas now. You know, but anyway,
we'll give it to Candyman. We'll give the torch to Candyman. 92.
Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp.
Man. Sleepaway Camp 3. I'm trying to think of, like, how we could, you know, get this conversation back on the rails, but really this movie is off the rails. It's ridiculous, and it's got, like...
the conversation's just like the movie.
She's got a lot of, like, silly one-liners like that, where, like, they're not good one-liners. They're just goofy, make you go, ha, 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 chuckle a little, you know? Oh, man. There's okay.
I love it when you run out of steam.
Okay, so there's this other kill that she does that's really stupid, where she's like, she gets cornered by like this dude who, she's like, yeah, let's fool around. I'm gonna tie you up to the tree, and she's like, why are you gonna tie me up to a tree? And she's like, because it's gonna be like sexy or something, okay? So she ties him up to a tree, and then. He's like, okay, but don't you want to take off my clothes now? And she's like, nah. And she ties the rope to a Jeep and then backs the Jeep up and, like, rips his arms off. This movie's so stupid. I love it. I love this movie.
You know what else is great about this, too? The end of it, when you have the final girl and the final boy, where you think they're going to get together. and then you have the reveal that the girl wasn't it the girl that was involved? She was just using him or some shit throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Man, I also like when the guy who looks like Joe Piscopo, guy who looks like Joe Piscopo, he's suddenly like, wait a minute, Angela, you're the killer? My boy was killed at the other camp. What are you gonna do to me, huh? What are you gonna do to kill me? And she's like, I'm just gonna shoot you. Pow!
Yeah.
And like,
she shoots him and kills him. Yeah.
It's also really funny because it's like, here we are in this slasher, and she just starts using a gun, and it's suddenly like, well, that's way more intense.
Yeah.
Like, you see guns so few times in slasher movies that when somebody pulls one out, you're like, what?
Well, it's because the guns are a useless weapon in slasher movies. They don't kill anybody.
Not on Joe Piscopo in this one.
Well, Joe dies quick.
Oh, man. And,
God, this movie.
Right.
These movies, I should say.
And even like, all right, I guess we could spoil the ending now.
Yeah.
Where, Angela's being taken away in an ambulance. Mm-hmm. And the cop and the paramedic who are in the ambulance with her are like, let's just kill her. We'll do it now. And then nobody will know. That way she can't kill anybody else, right? Mm-hmm. So she stabs them with syringes. And when the ambulance driver, he's like, hey, what's going on back there? And she's just like, oh, I'm just taking care of business. And the movie ends.
As she should. Because, damn it, she was trying to make sure those kids were on a straight and narrow, and they all fucked around, and they got what they deserved.
Right.
Like, and then the ambulance drivers, your job is to fix the person that's hurt, sick, or dying, and they were going to kill her. So they were not doing their job. So, yep.
Man, it is just a stupid movie, and she kills people just because she's like annoyed with them, and it's wonderful, and I love it. I mean, I love it. I think it's horrible and wonderful at the same time. Because, like, okay, they have the one character who is like, she's a spoiled girl who comes from a family of like racists, and they make a big point of this. And she like is a spoiled rich girl who's having too much sex and using too many drugs. But also, this same movie that is trying to say, hey, don't treat people, the different minorities poorly, then has a black character in it that is just like every stereotype about black people you would see in the 80s, Every negative stereotype, I should say. And it's like this same stupid movie can't keep its shit straight from one character to the next. And it's like, oh, man. You have to wonder sometimes about slasher movies and, like, the puritanical teachings in them about, like, don't use drugs and don't have premarital sex. And I know that it's, like, kind of a trope and kind of something that we make fun about. But it's almost like, why did this keep coming up in the 80s? Like, why was this such a thing? And like, it's almost kind of like funny now, but it's also kind of like scary in the way that like these movies were used to control people. And like, what type of effect did these movies have on me and my ideals as a teenager? As I was like, you think back and it's like, you think about how you used to think people were like really slutty or, scumbags for doing too many drugs or something. And then you get older and you're like, oh, wait, everybody's really slutty and does a lot of drugs. So that's just life,
That's true.
And like now, like like if you went back 17 years ago and looked at me as a 18-year-old, or which I guess I was 17 years ago. I'm doing math in my head as I'm saying this.
I thought you were born this old.
No, yeah, I was born like 50. No, like half my lifetime ago, I was extremely judgmental. Was it because of like horror movies, Whereas now I'm like grown up and open-minded because I've seen all the terrors of the world. And I'm just like, oh, man, whatever. I don't care what you do.
I remember having a brief conversation with my brother in our attic. And I said, I don't think because my brother was a slut. And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have sex or have a girlfriend until I'm ready. And he's like, and this is in the 80s, so don't get offended. But he called me the F word. He goes, so do you affect? And I go, no, I just think that it would be right to wait. And he goes, yeah, okay, keep telling yourself that, you fucking pussy. And then just walks away from me. And I'm like, the heck is that all about? Because if I know this, watching these movies, I know for a fact that if I do this, I'm going to get killed if I go out camping. So
right.
I'm going to survive. He's not.
Oh, man. I wish that we could do an episode somehow on the strange puritanical views and how it affected us as teenagers.
We sure can.
But I don't know how we could ever. Anyway, yeah, I mean, so that's Sleepaway Camp 3. It is dumber, but it is fun, and it is campy in a way that, like, most movies cannot capture the level of campiness and just the fun of this movie, man.
And just think, camp's in the title.
What's that? Yes, camp is literally in the title and in the movie.
So is Pamela Springsteen at 2 out of 3.
But this is a movie that, like, the first time I saw it, I was just like, I actually love this movie. Like, I was laughing so much while and I'm not even, like, laughing because it's a funny movie. I was laughing because I was enjoying it. Like, oh, my God. That type of laughing. Where you're just, like, enjoy a movie outright.
Do you want to know something? My girlfriend and I, a few years ago, went to a horse show in D.C., and at the horse show was the boss's daughter, right? Because she competes in horse shows, and she's a well-known horse rider. Mm-hmm. I was so excited when I found this out because I said, I wonder if her aunt is going to be and I didn't see her aunt. I didn't see the boss. But I'm like, oh man, it would be great if I actually got to run into Pamela fucking Springsteen. And not just like gushed or anything, just went, I love you. That's all. That's all I gotta say. That's it. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You get arrested so fast.
No, I wouldn't. I think she would accept me. She's still pretty. She has that look.
You don't know what she's like in real life. She could just hate everyone.
She probably does, yeah. She refused to do commentary or partake in any kind of special features for Sleepaway Camp 2 or 3.
And that's a shame, because they're such good movies.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm really fascinated by her. I don't know if you could tell. But like,
I think, yeah.
I really am. Yeah, I don't know, man. So we're not going to do a bumper for Return or 4, or Nick and I are going to do a little bit of a rank 'em, but that's only going to take a second each. Now, here's the weird thing. So the box set I was talking about earlier. See, I told you I'd come back to this, and I have. The box set had Sleepaway Camp 1, 2, and 3, and then it had this other DVD where it says Sleepaway Camp 4 work print or something like that. All it was some girl on video, like a videotape, walking through the woods, talking to herself. Mm-hmm. That's it. And I'm like, what did I just watch? What is what is this? And that's it. That's all it is. It's just like footage of some girl walking through the woods.
Yeah.
That was it. So,
but isn't there more of that movie, Part 4?
No. But this is the box set, and that was the only footage they had at the time. So this is like probably, I want to say 1998? 99? Maybe 99, 2000-ish. I think that's when it was. Anyway, so nothing came about with that. Then all of a sudden, there was Return to Sleepaway Camp. Directed by the same dude that made the first Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell you this, man. My excitement level ramped up. I was so excited at the time. And this is years later. This was like, I think 07, 08, something like that. And they said, yeah, we got a lot of the original cast in this. We have Isaac Hayes. We got Big Pussy. The guy that played Big Pussy, not actual like Big Labia.
No. Vincent Pastore.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I am excited. And then I saw the trailer. And I said, what the fuck is this? 'Cause I'll just tell you this. I'm not a fan at all of Return to Sleepaway Camp. I think it's a giant misstep and a missed opportunity. And it felt very, very, very forced to the point of I don't know if they knew exactly what the hell they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have you seen this, Nick?
No, I've never seen the other ones.
Oh, thank God. All right, so this is now. Keep in mind, I saw this about 9 years ago, and I never want to watch it ever again. It had these bullies that were picking on this chubby kid who tells everybody that their ass stinks. And this chubby kid is so annoying, you want them to pick on him. You want him to die, but yet he's the final girl?
Oh?
And then
So
there's somebody...
reversed it?
Yeah, but there's a killer killing people where you think it's the fat kid getting picked on, who's an asshole. Every possible way you could be an asshole, this kid's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're supposed to feel sympathy for him somehow. That's what this movie is, and it's terrible. It's fucking terrible. And the reveal is ridiculous. It's mugging for the camera. I'm not going to give it away in case somebody wants to get some excitement or enjoyment out of it, but whatever. So there was that. Then, prepare yourself.
Okay.
In 2012, Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor, came out.
Right.
Which is an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my.
And here's the synopsis, by the way. I'll bring this up just so you hear. Allison Kramer suffers reoccurring nightmares and selective amnesia. She returns to the camp to discover the truth, only to find dark memories to life coming before her, dark memories coming to life before her very eyes. So, I've said I'm not watching this. There's no way I'm watching this movie. It does exist out on Amazon. You can purchase it. However, I understand that it's kind of like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which is a masterpiece, by the way. But, like, Sleepaway Camp 4 is the footage I was talking about before that they interspliced with footage from the original film.
So the
original
film?
Yeah, they replay Sleepaway Camp 1.
Oh man. That's bad shit.
That's what I understand. I am like, no way am I watching it. I'm just not. I mean, eventually my curiosity will get the best of me, and I'm like, okay, let's put on this piece of shit. Much like I did with that Tales from Halloween, I actually enjoyed. But like, this one was not on my radar. So anyway, we're not talking about those movies. They don't exist. Nick, let's do a little quick rank 'em. I want you to give me your best to least favorite sleepaway camps, if there is such a thing.
All right, it's easy for me. The least is Sleepaway Camp 1.
Okay.
I feel like that movie is pretty unnecessary. Like, you could easily watch parts 2 and 3 without watching part 1.
Okay.
And it's also the hardest one to recommend to people because of all the hang-ups with the ending, and just in general, I feel like it's the slowest moving and least committed to the cause
All right.
And I mean, it's nowhere near as clever. It's still like, if you like slasher movies and you like 80s, you know, people go to camp and get chopped up movies, fine, watch it. You know, you'll enjoy it. It is what it is.
Hey, Barbarina.
Or
Hey,
if you're,
Barbarina.
I have no idea what that means.
That's what the kid was saying under the canoe when he was in the lake.
Well, at any rate, these Sleepaway Camp movies, the first one, you know, see it only if you're interested in, like horror history or whatever. But you could easily watch just a clip of the ending on YouTube and get the full sense of how ridiculous that movie is. Like if you don't see it, you're not losing anything. My second favorite is Sleepaway Camp 2, which is, I think, better at being a straight up horror movie than Sleepaway Camp 3, but it's also sort of campy and starts to become goofy. And my favorite of the three is obviously Sleepaway Camp 3. I actually really love that movie. I think it's just a great, dumb, campy horror movie. And I'm not saying it's a good movie. It's just good, campy, fun, dumb horror. I totally love it.
All right, now as I unzip my pants, I will give you my top three.
Do we need sound effects on this show?
No, we don't. All right, number one, for me, top of the list, top of the heap, is Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers. Speaking, I'm almost pronouncing it unhappy. Unhappy Campers. Jesus Christ. I'm like getting unhappy and campers mixed together. Unhappy Campers. Starring the lovely and talented and beautiful Pamela Springsteen. Call me. Dude, I'm telling you, you know what would happen? I guarantee this. And please, listeners out there, if you hear this, keep this in mind. I'm not really in love with Pamela Springsteen. I love her. But what I'm saying is, if anybody knows her and she actually talks to us on this show, it will be the most downloaded show in every horror podcast out there. If we actually got an interview with Pamela fucking Springsteen, the internet would go boom, 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 boom. Horror part of internet would boom. Telling you, I am dead serious about this because she is a national treasure. Okay. Sleepaway Camp 2 is number one. You ready for number two? What do you think number two is for me, Nick?
Number 3.
You are wrong. I actually say Sleepaway Camp is number 2 for me, only for the sheer fact of how slow and terrible it is. And
wait, I realized what I totally messed up at. Sorry. Anyway, sorry. No, continue.
No, but I do love. I trust me. I love all these movies. 2 gets the edge over anything in this entire series for me. But I absolutely love Sleepaway Camp 1, mostly because of the feel of it. Like, it just feels like a real camp movie. It doesn't feel forced. It feels like you're actually there. And it feels like meatballs, and I love meatballs. I love spaghetti, too, and chicken parmesan. However, I would say that Sleepaway Camp is my second. And third and last, and definitely not least, is 3. Only because it has a totally different feel to me than Part 2, especially in the way Angela looks. And it feels a little bit more mean-spirited than the other movies. Or actually, it feels a little bit more as mean-spirited as the first one, not as mean-spirited as the second one, because the second one is just goofy. Third one is goofy too, but there are some mean kills in it too. And but that's okay. I mean, I like the variety that they go for, because it depends on what kind of mood you're in. So if you're in the mood for boring, old school, first one. If you're in the mood for late 80s fall/summer feel, go for 2. Same with 3, except 3 is a little bit more I'd say sillier, but also meaner. So, and funny too. They are
Yeah.
funny movies.
They're goofy ass movies, and I love it, man.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
Hey,
It's weird shit.
ballerina. Hey, ballerina.
So, I guess that's it.
I'm gonna sing that all night. Fuck.
I know.
Yeah.
I think
So
this is our longest episode ever, and it's
it
okay.
might be. That's fine with me, dude. Because you know what? These movies deserve it. Because stuff like this exists, and I'm glad that it does. Because it's something that nobody is ever going to be able to replicate or surpass, and that's okay with me.
It's just I don't know what else to say about them. Like it's so good. They're so good. They're so stupid. I can't imagine. Just go watch some of these movies, kids.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think. By all means, hit us up on Twitter at Jack and Nick Show, or is it at Jack and Nick Horror Show? Shit, I forgot again.
At Jack and Nick Show.
At Jack and Nick Show. God, I do have it written down, but I didn't use notes this time. Everything I did this episode, completely off the top of my head, just bullshit spewing forth.
Yes.
Sorry,
but we'll have a lot more coming up. Don't worry.
More Maybe. What?
More content.
Oh, episodes?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
It would be. I mean, we just had one not too long ago, and now we're doing this long one.
Mm-hmm.
And then once this one's over, here's what you do. Go back to the very beginning, listen to us all over again, listen to the progress, and then when you get to next week's episode, which ain't probably going to be about a week or two, it'll be like it's next week. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying there.
I don't know where you're going either.
I'm really glad that we talked about Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah. Oh, man. What a good shit. Good shit all around.
It was a good shit. It was a good two-flusher, I would say.
Oh, man.
Get out the ruler and start chopping it up.
So, do you want to even plug your Twitter, or do you just want to say you don't use it?
I hardly use it, only because I turned off the notifications because I can't log in on my computer. And when I'm on Twitter, or when I have Twitter notifications, it says, this one and this one like this one's photo. I don't give a shit.
It says that when you have no real followers.
Yeah, I know, because it wants you to use it. But it's like, here's my thing. If I use Twitter, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to work. Hey, still at work. Hey. It's like, no. If I'm watching it, and here's the other thing with me, too. Not that you really need to give a shit, and you can stop listening now and go over to another show, but...
No.
If you no. If you want to know about this, and we're ending the show soon because this has nothing to do with Sleepaway Camp or the beautiful Pamela Springsteen. My thing is that when I watch a movie now, I just watch a movie, and I enjoy the movie for being the movie. Because for a while, when I was doing something else, there were times where you have to, like... It's cool to interact with people, and I don't mind interacting with people. I love talking with people. However, if I'm watching a movie, I don't want to tweet it. Because people start going, oh my god, I love that movie. Oh, me too. And then it turns into you're having a conversation while you're watching the movie. And I can't do that. I feel like I'm doing an injustice to the movie I'm watching. Regardless of how shitty it is or whatever, if I don't like it. My new thing now is like I just watch the movie and enjoy it for what it is and don't have the need to tell everybody about it. I'll do that on the show, you know?
Mm-hmm.
However, if I feel strong about something, I'll put something on. I'll start using Twitter again soon. I'm just taking... I even took a break from Facebook. I mean... Yeah. It's really getting out of control. It's
I hardly can even look at Facebook. It's too much for me.
You know what? For me, and a lot of people, but Facebook and Twitter, my feeds have turned into the Jersey Shore shops. When you go into those shops that have T-shirts and all these sayings on them, and it feels like that. It feels like you're just browsing shit. And I'm like, bored. I want to go on some rides and have a good time. I want to go out on the beach and enjoy the ocean and bikinis. You know, that's what I want. I don't want your bullshit shirts. That's all.
So,
you can follow me at JacobK666.
Nobody likes us, man. Nobody.
No, they don't. Yeah, you know what? I'm fucking cool with that. It's okay, because I don't like them either. That's all right. I could care less. Because, you know what? I like me and I like you. And you and I get along great. Which is surprising. You know how surprising this is, people? How Nick and I came to be? It's weird. It's a weird situation, isn't it?
Kind of.
It's well, not kind.
Is it that weird?
No, it's not really that weird. But it's just neat how you and I have this bond. We didn't even grow up together. We just have this bond.
Right.
It's cool. It's a cool thing. So
it is.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. That's why we do the show.
Yeah. No, it's fills a void in my life. I don't like without it. I'd just be talking to myself on the toilet or something. I don't know.
Well. Okay, I'll stop. Before I'm going in here, welcome. You're not on the toilet now, right?
Oh, I hope not.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you for listening. You can follow Nick at New Jersey Nick. You can follow the show at Jack and Nick Show, or Jack and Nick Horror, or whatever Nick feels like calling it this week. And you can follow me at slash. Oh, I almost said it.
No,
you
don't do that.
Motherfucker. At JacobK666. And people, keep in mind, Nick and I don't hate people. We're just disappointed. We're just disappointed and anger and hatred. We're trying to have a good time here. Listen to the show, have a good time, and you'll see. We're not going to make announcements because when we do, they blow up in our faces. So we're just going to do what we do.
Yep.
So you may get more shows. You may not.
I hope so, dude.
You may not. That's all I'm going to say. Just keep listening. Or maybe they stopped listening when I told them to go to another show.
Probably.
This is going to be like the stinger that Marvel does and all their fucking bullshit movies. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
This is more like the credits.
Yeah.
That last for 15 minutes.
It is.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Like you.
Bye.
I don't know what to say. I was once a camper myself, but it wasn't anything like this.
The Jack and Nick Horror Show.
This is the best! Can I have Molly Nagel and Allie Burtis up here to help me with our morning song? Come on, Al.
Go on, Al.
Okay. We'll do my favorite, the Happy Camper song. Don't forget the hand movements. Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun. I love the trees and forests. I'm always having fun. Oh, I'm a happy camper.